If you want to know how to start out with a simple URL, access unstructured HTML, and transform that into a nice, neat, one-piece data table, stick around. X and I got some cool tricks for you. Hey YouTube, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Taicho. That's my Dark Lord X. Let's get right back into it. So coming right off our last video where we went and web scraped every single chapter on the One Piece wiki fandom, so that's starting with chapter 1 all the way up until chapter 1086. We're going to work off that exact script where we created a list of all the different chapter links. I have printed out here the first two. And what we're going to do in this video is really bring our data volume to the next level. Our first saga table had about 11 rows. Our arc table had 32 rows. Then we took a nice big jump with all the chapter data and got up to 1,086 rows. In this video, we're really going to take it to the next level by web scraping every single character that appeared in every single chapter. That's going to bring our volume really far. It's going to expand it exponentially, and it's really going to give us the opportunity to synthesize 4 different tables that we'll have and do much cooler analysis outside of just the different, analysis that I did in the One Piece Saga data analysis, where I was just kind of counting the number of chapters, volumes, and such like that. So, captain's orders, here they are, pretty straightforward. So we're going to be working off of our script that we created in the last video, which you can catch here, where we web scraped all the chapter data. So we're just going to start right at the point where we have our list of chapter links. From there, what we're going to do is run another for loop, surprise, to web scrape the character appearances, but we're going to do it a little bit differently. So step 2 will be our data sourcing, but because of the format that it's in, it's actually in a much cleaner table than the prior information. It will be a little bit more straightforward to grab. So step 2 will be our data sourcing. I've broken where we're actually going to be accessing table class objects, and then within those table class objects, we're going to be accessing the table row objects, and then within each of the table row objects, we're going to be accessing the table data characteristics. So I've broken those out into a couple different pieces, and then because each chapter essentially will have multiple rows for every character that appeared, we're going to create specific data frames for each chapter, and we're going to eventually just clean all those data frames with one data frame, do our standard cleanup like we usually do, and then finally export that all to SQL Server. Probably way too much information up front, but those are captain orders, and X will oblige. So without further ado, let's get into it. So as you can see here, we have our links that we started out with, the same script from our prior video. The first thing that we want to do is first create an empty list. So X, if you can give us an empty list to create, that'd be great. Cool. So calling this 2A, empty list called chapter characters. This will be our overarching list of all the different character appearances for each different chapter. So then the next step is we have to go and we have to find tables. So what I mean when I say go and find tables, if I click this link down here, navigate to the wiki Fandom. Previously we were scraping these elements. Looks clean, but it's not exactly a table. But when we scroll down here all the way to the bottom, you can see pretty distinctly that the characters are in a table, and they have different classes. They have pirates, citizens, animals, outlaws. We're gonna get essentially everything. And what happens is if we inspect this part here, you could see the class, right, is char table, so it's a table character object. We can navigate specifically to this object and then parse through the elements in this object. So we see the table body, TR, table rows, and then within table rows we'll eventually be able to get TD, which TD tag. So we're going to essentially navigate through this element tree starting at the char table for each chapter, which is the table of characters. We're going to navigate to the table rows, and then within all the table rows we're going to navigate down to the table data, and that is the information that we're going to grab. We're only going to grab a couple fields. They have the character, chapter, and I think they have like the type of appearance, so that's pretty cool. You'll see when we actually get to the data. Cool. So X, if you could give us a for loop to loop through our chapter data frame that we have, navigate to the table data character object, and then from there navigate to the table rows to start us off, that'd be great. Cool. So we have that now. X just gave it to us, and this is what it looks like. See if it gives us anything valuable. If not, you'll see how dirty. So this is essentially the element or the HTML data that when I right click and expect, Python does the exact same thing. You can see there's nothing really for us to work with, but if we look closely, we will eventually be able to grab things like, you know, red hair pirates, things like Shanks. We'll be able to grab that data. So X, if you could give us the next part to find all the table data and extract the text from the table data element. So let's see what that looks like. And full disclosure, no disclosures. Alright. So here's step 2B. Now let's see what this looks like. So basically, you know, after we've gotten all the table rows, for every table row in that character table on the wiki Fandom, we want to find the table data, because that's where the information that we see here is going to lie, you know, right below this TD. We're looking for all this stuff. And what we're doing is essentially extracting the text from the table data there. So let's see what this gives us. Still pretty messy, but it's kind of refined it for us a little bit. We're gonna have to do some more work to, you know, clean out this, but you can see the Alvida Pirates, Alvida, Hapeco. Yeah, I think Alvida, after she goes through her Jenny Craig program and slims down, not a terrible design. Zorro, you can see the type he's only mentioned. Kobe, Mr. Glow Up, and of course a Monk and D Right, so that makes sense. Those are the first couple chapters. Barrel Luffy and such. So, cool. But from there, what we want to do, we want to kind of clean it up a little bit. We want to split on certain parts. So X, if you can give us a script to split on these slashes, so that the data is a little bit more structured. That'd be great. Sweet. Okay, so I printed out our list of chapter characters, the list that we defined at the very top. Don't need that twice. And here's what it looks like. So after doing a bunch of different cleanings, it's a list of lists, and then so basically you could see one being chapter 1. We have the red hair pirates appearing, Shanks, Ben Beckman, Lucky Roo, Yasop, so on and so on. Roger, you can see flashback because he's not in real time, bunch of different things, and so forth. So now what we need to do, but this is a list of lists, so each chapter is going to have its own list within this list. What we want to do is go through the list of chapters, character appearances, turn them into its own data frame, and then append that to each other so that we have a full-length clean data frame. And X, give us the script for that, my guy, and we'll see what that looks like. So that's going to go into this chapter characters data frame up here. It's another for loop. But basically it's looping through the chapter characters list, turning it into a data frame, and appending it to each other. So now, let's see, and then adding that to this empty data frame we have up here. Let's see what we got. Okay, so this is what the data frame looks like. Again, you can see the different characters that are here that are showing up. They're giving us a lot, like Chicken, others, Gyoro. We're gonna have to see how great this is, but we'll see. Next, we want to clean it up a little bit. So X, if you could give us a script to clean up the data frame that we just created. I'm not gonna go through that because I've mentioned before, I'm really just like slicing, splitting at certain parts, removing certain characters and so forth. So we'll do that. And then we'll look at it again, see if it's cleaner. So it is a little bit cleaner. Here are 3 columns: the chapter, the character, and the type of appearance they have. So you can see chapter 1, all the different characters. Nami's apparently on the cover. Is Nami on the cover? I'm gonna check if she's on the cover. Gotta validate. Yeah, so step 5, like all the other steps, we're gonna export this to SQL. Export to SQL Server. So X, if you could give us the script to export to SQL Server. Probably gonna do that. And I'm not gonna go too in depth on this because I've done it a bunch of times, but basically what we do is create a connection string, create our table with our variables or columns, only 3 columns. We'll loop through our different data frames that we want, and then append it. So I have it in here. But yeah, so here you can see the output, 30,000 rows. I said the volume would increase, and it definitely has, and this is what it looks like. This will definitely take more cleaning up to do, or kind of more standardizing, filling in the nulls, you know, making sure you know, we split out the different types and such like that. So, but yeah, there we have our character appearances. I think it'll be pretty interesting to see which chapters have the most amount of characters appear, which have the least. What does that trend look like over time? Is there a different distinction between the different arcs and sagas in terms of how Oda introduces characters? You know, I could see like Alabasta Saga, Skypiea, Water 7 having a lot of character introductions. Marineford arc, because you're going... I'm really interested in seeing what those numbers look like. I think this is a great way to enrich our data, and I'm looking forward to doing those analysis. I hope you are too. If you are, give me a like, comment what you think about this data scrape. If you don't like it, hit the dislike button, and make sure you smash the subscribe button either way so that you can show some love or show some hate. Thank you. Till next time, Taicho out.